Hello folks and welcome. Filming in 1080. My screen res is in 4K mode though. I'm going to be talking about getting ready for LMDE 7, codename GG. I'm circling the current version, Linux Mint Debian version 6, Cinnamon Desktop. This video is about basic backups. Getting ready for the upgrade, LMDE 7, codename GG. Linux Mint Team is the only one that has the release dates on those, so don't ask me. Down here, though, is a subscription key of a person with yellow brackets. Got roughly about 550 plus videos. Linux is for all ages. Linux is for all skill levels. All right, I am going to remove the red stuff and say welcome. Filming in 1080, but my screen res is in 4K mode. Let's go bounce over to a website you may be familiar with, Linux Mint. If you click the download section, you can go to all versions, and we can talk about 22.1, which is Cinnamon, Xaya, Ubuntu, supported until April 2029. But you probably clicked this because you wanted to see some information on LMDE 6. And what's the next version? LMDE 7, codename GG. Down at the bottom, you'll find the word or number says 6. Codename Fay, Cinnamon Desktop, Debian Bookworm. But you'll only see a long-term support release. So don't bother asking me when Clem is going to release this. I'm just going to let you read this. If you go over to the blog, now if you don't know who Clem is, I call him Mr. Linux Mint, but on May 8th, which is actually today, he released this information. The next code name for LMDE 7 will be called GG. For 22, it's that name. But since most of you folks probably clicked this, we're talking about that. You can go look at Clem's blog if you want to read the whole thing. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about getting prepared. Now, a lot of people say, I have TimeShift installed. I'm good to go. Are you? Do you know what TimeShift is? Well, yeah, it's a system restore utility. And a lot of people say, well, I activated it, so it's copying everything. Actually, it's not by default. If you made an alteration, then maybe so. But if you kept the default, it is not backing up your personal files. That would be your documents and photos and etc. It's a system restore utility. It's copying your system files or making a snapshot using rsync in most cases. You can certainly go and install a whole bunch of different software. Graphical rsync, I have videos on that. Graphical rsync normally, or grsync only does one thing at a time, and TimeShift generally uses rsync anyways by default. But you can also just use rsync with script files. I have those videos too. You can also use this tool here called the backup tool. Software selection, you may want to actually do a backup. It tells you the software you've got installed. Now, if you decide to back up your personal data, it does not back up anything that has no files in it, as an FYI. And it only does one kind of backup, and that's tape archive or TAR. I'm going to basically show you that you can use your file manager to do this with the exception of the software part. All right, so I also have a backup internal drive here. You can also think about this as external, and if you can't afford those, maybe a USB stick. There's currently nothing in it. But I'm going to be using your file manager to give you some tips on how to do backups, only using this without installing software. Bob is just a made-up name. What is important to you, though? A lot of people, as I pointed out, say, I have TimeShift installed. Did you alter it? Because if you didn't, it's not making copies of these things. They're not here. They won't be there when you do a restore. Because TimeShift does not copy your personal documents, your pictures, and music, for instance. You need to do that manually. Or you can alter TimeShift, which usually takes enormous amount of resources, but in either case, it can be done. But generally, by default, it's not doing that. So don't make the mistake before upgrading to LMDE 7 or doing a fresh install thinking that your documents, your pictures, your music is going to be there on your backup on TimeShift. Why don't you do yourself a favor? Back these things up yourself. You can install a ton of software, yes, but I'm going to show you how to do this just using your file manager. Linux is for all skill levels. If you don't know how to do this, it's Control A. That selects everything. You can find the same command right here. Okay, that's the keyboard equivalent. Right click on any one of these blue things. All right, in here, toward the bottom, compress. But I'm going to talk about some of the options you will have. It takes on the name of the current user, in this case, a made-up name called Bob. I'm going to change that name, though, to backup. And I have this nice convenient calendar here that says May 8th on it. So I'll put that as a date. Because this is a static backup, I'll just use 25 instead of the full year. What's the difference on these? .7z or period .7z is compressed. Period or .zip is compressed. No pun intended, but we have jar and tar. Now, tar I've been using ever since the Unix days, and I've been around that long. Okay, Linux has been out for roughly 30 years. Prior to that was Unix. And Linux is a Unix-based system. So tape archive is what that stands for, is tar. It's non-compressed. I'll say it twice. It's not compressed. Another favorite of mine, if I do automation remotely, is usually tar.gz. That is compressed. But I'm going to just talk about tar all by its lonesome, because your backup program that's built into Mint also uses tar. But it doesn't copy folders that have 0 things in them, unlike I'm doing here. I want to hit create. And depending on the speed of your hard drive, it's going to generate a tar file. A tar ball, we call it in Linux. I like to nickname these tar boxes. Everything is in the box, including the 0-byte stuff. All right, what can we do with these? And should I only just leave this on the current drive before I upgrade to LMDE 7? Or do a fresh install? Absolutely not. May I give you some sound advice, folks? Take this and put it somewhere else as a second copy. You can certainly leave the original here. Do you have an internal hard drive? Put it there. Do you have an external hard drive? Put it there. If you don't and can't afford those two, do you have a USB stick? Format it and throw it there. If the file is over 4 gigabytes, then format that USB stick with something else besides FAT32. Anywho's, let's copy this puppy. I'm going to put mine here. I created a folder already. Now, why don't I like to use spaces in folder names? I have a reason for that when I write script files. I don't have to write extra code when I do that. That's another video for itself. Anywho's, what's in the box? What's in the tar ball? What's in the tar box? Everything I just copied, including the stuff that has nothing in it. Folder names with nothing. Your tool here does not do that, by the way. This backup tool, when you do a backup here, it does not copy these, if you care. Some people don't. That's okay. We're all inclusive here. But more importantly, if you are wanting to make a total copy of your home folder, minus the hidden stuff, then there's what you got. And again, put them on something other than the booted in drive. In case you upgrade to 7 and have to do a fresh install, you'll lose your backup. At least you'll have a spare somewhere. I always recommend, if the files are important enough to you, you put them in a fire safe. You can certainly uncompress these in a heartbeat. Whether we do it here, I don't really care. I'm just going to wipe the files clean. So I'm going to do a Control A and a delete. Then I'm going to uncompress. Is this compressed, this tar? No. Tape archive is not compressed. It's just a container. If that said .tar.gz, that would be compressed. But this is not. This includes my hidden folder called dot or period, my icons. Control A. Dragging the whole thing over. Replace all. That's how you can replace things, including that locked file. Silly stuff? Maybe so. But backups are important, folks, before you upgrade. Backups are important when you replace systems. Your personal files, I'm sure, have value to you. They do to me. I always back up my documents and pictures to at least several locations, whether they're on my servers or whether they're on the cloud. I like to have them in multiple places, and I hate to say this, but in case you have a catastrophic fire, always put your personal files, also if you do backups, in a fire safe. That's my recommendation. Thank you for watching.